I want you to visualize a very specific kind of misery.
Okay.
It is, 11 p.m. The office is dark.
Uh-huh.
You have a presentation due at 9 a.m. You know the data. You know the story.
Right.
But you're not thinking about the story. You are just staring at a slide, trying to drag a text box, maybe 3 pixels to the left.
Oh, man. I feel that in my soul.
Then 2 pixels to the right. You change the font.
And it looks wrong.
It looks wrong. You change it back, and it still looks, I don't know, boring.
Yeah.
And you realize you're not a strategist anymore. You're a manual laborer in a digital factory.
That is the tyranny of the alignment tool. It is like the modern Sisyphean task. You push the boulder up the hill, you get the text centered, and then you add 1 bullet point, and the boulder just rolls right back down. The whole layout breaks.
It's agonizing. But what if we could just bypass all that? What if you could just speak to your computer, tell it a story, literally just talk to it, and watch it build a website-grade interactive presentation in real time?
That is the promise we are looking at today. We're diving into a guide on mastering slide design with Claude Artifacts.
Okay.
And I want to be clear up front, this is not just a tip for using PowerPoint faster.
Right.
It is about abandoning PowerPoint entirely for something called code-first thinking.
Welcome to the deep dive. I'm genuinely curious about this one. It feels like we're moving from slide design to something that looks, I don't know, more like software development.
That's a fair assessment, but, don't let that scare you. It sounds intimidating, but it's actually incredibly liberating.
We'll see about that. I'm still a little skeptical about the complexity. But here's the roadmap for our discussion today.
Lay it out.
First, we need to understand what Claude artifacts actually are and why, according to this HTML, is, objectively superior to a slide deck.
Okay.
Then we have to talk about the input. Because apparently writing a script like a story, it changes how the AI thinks about design.
That part is fascinating. It's all about how these LLMs predict what comes next.
Right. And then we'll look at the execution, the specific system prompts, to get that really premium, high-end look.
And finally, we'll touch on some advanced polishing tools, like Cursor, that supposedly let non-coders build interactive apps.
It is a packed agenda.
It is, but honestly, by the end of this, you might look at that orange PowerPoint icon and just delete it.
Let's start with the basics. We keep saying Claude artifacts. For the listener who just uses a standard chat interface, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, what are we actually looking at here? What is an artifact?
So typically when you chat with an AI, it's a linear feed. You say something, it writes back text, it's a conversation.
Right.
Artifacts changes the geometry of your screen. When you ask Claude to build something substantial like code, or a website, or in this case a slide deck, it opens a dedicated window.
A stage.
Yeah, a stage on the right side of the interface.
So it's a split screen, chat on the left, visual result on the right.
Precisely. But here is the critical distinction. It is not generating a static image like a JPEG or a PDF. It is rendering code, specifically HTML. This is that code-first thinking.
Right.
When you use PowerPoint, you are manipulating a graphic interface. You are moving pixels. When you use artifacts, the AI is writing code that behaves like slides.
I have to pause you there. I'm a visual person. I like dragging the square. I like knowing that if I put the picture here, it stays here. Why should I care about the code underneath? Doesn't that just add a layer of abstraction?
You would think so, but consider the trade-off. Think about how you spend your time. There's this painful statistic that we usually spend, 40% of our time on the actual content, the thinking, and 60% on just formatting, just making it look okay.
That feels optimistic. I feel like I spend 90% of my time formatting.
Right. And the problem with manual formatting is that it is fragile. If you have 50 slides and you decide, actually, I hate this corporate blue, I want apple red, what do you have to do in PowerPoint?
I mean, if I haven't set up the master slide perfectly, which, let's be honest, I never do.
Nobody does.
I have to click through 50 slides and manually change the header.
Exactly. You are clicking 50 times. But because artifacts are built on code, you have global editing. You don't touch the slides.
Okay.
You just say to the AI, change the whole color theme to orange-red and make all the titles 20% bigger.
And it just ripples through.
And because the underlying code is all connected, boom, it happens instantly across the entire deck.
So you're saying the code acts as almost like a nervous system. You stimulate one part and the whole body reacts.
That is a great analogy. It enforces consistency. You physically cannot have one slide with a slightly different font size by accident because the code defines the font size globally.
That's a fascinating shift in agency. You stop being the construction worker laying the bricks, and you become the architect shouting instructions.
And it allows for features that PowerPoint simply struggles with, too.
Like what?
We're talking about interactive chapter menus. Because it's HTML, it's basically a little website. You can have a navigation bar on the left.
Oh, interesting.
You click Chapter 3, and it jumps there instantly. It can support live countdown timers, dynamic charts, things that feel alive rather than static.
So if I'm hearing you right, the core value proposition isn't just speed. It's that the underlying structure, the code, enforces a level of consistency that a human just can't maintain manually.
Exactly. Global code updates mean zero formatting errors.
Okay, I'm listening. So we have the vehicle, which is HTML code rendered in this artifact window.
Right.
But a vehicle is only as good as the fuel you put in it. We need to talk about the input. Garbage in, garbage out.
This is where most people get it wrong. And it's not their fault. We've been trained by PowerPoint.
How so?
We think in bullets. We think title, bullet, bullet, bullet.
That's true.
That's how you outline.
But the guide argues for a narrative strategy. It explicitly says, do not paste dry bullet points. Write your script like a long message to a friend or a dramatic story.
That seems counterintuitive. I mean, usually AI wants structured data. If I want a slide deck, shouldn't I give it a list of slides? Why does a story help the design? It comes down to how these large language models, these LLMs, actually work. They're prediction engines.
Right.
They predict the next token, the next piece of information, based on the pattern you give them. So if you feed it a dry, flat list of bullet points, what's it going to predict?
A dry, flat visual hierarchy.
Exactly. It thinks, okay, everything is equal weight, I will just make a list.
I see.
But if you write with narrative flow, if you say, we were struggling with sales, but then we found the solution, the AI detects that emotional pivot.
Right.
It understands the logic of the argument. It might decide, hey, this solution part is the climax. I'm going to give that text its own slide with a large, bold font and a dark background.
So by stripping away the rigid structure and just writing naturally, we're actually giving the AI more signal about what's important.
Yes. You're programming the AI's attention span. You're telling it what matters. And practically speaking, you do need to structure this story into clear chapters. The problem, the solution, the strategy. This isn't just for flow. This is what triggers the AI to build that clickable navigation menu we talked about. If you don't define the chapters in the text, the code doesn't know how to build the menu buttons.
The text also mentions something about visual cues, kind of breaking the fourth wall.
Oh, this is a pro tip. You can insert notes in brackets right in the middle of your story.
So like
insert comparison table here or use a pie chart to show market share.
So you're narrating, but you're also directing the camera.
Exactly. You are bridging that gap between your text and the visual output. You don't have to hope the AI guesses you on a chart. You just tell it.
Does writing like a storyteller actually result in a tangibly different visual layout compared to just pasting in an outline?
Yes. It helps the AI prioritize the gold ideas visually.
It prioritizes the gold. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into the mechanics, the system. I have to admit, as someone who isn't a coder, there is a vulnerability here for me. The idea of generating HTML is a little scary because if it breaks, I don't know how to fix it. I worry I'll just be staring at a wall of code, Matrix style.
That is a very real fear, the wall of text.
Yeah.
And the guide addresses this immediately.
Okay.
First off, you have to check your settings in Claude. Ensure artifacts is actually enabled.
Right.
If it's not, you will just get that scary wall of code. You need the visual preview engine running so you see the slide, not the brackets.
Okay, so once the engine is on, how do we steer it? We need a prompt.
This is the secret sauce, the system prompt. You don't just say, make slides. You have to define the persona. You tell it. You are an expert HTML slide designer.
Simple enough.
But then you add constraints. And constraints are magic for AI.
How so?
You say, dark background, big, clear white text, and this one's key, arrow key support.
Why arrow key support?
Because it's a website. By default, websites scroll, right? But you want a presentation. You want to tap your right arrow key and have it snap to the next slide. If you don't ask for that code, you'll be scrolling with your mouse wheel like you're reading a blog post. It just ruins the flow.
That is a crucial detail. So you set the stage.
Yeah.
Then comes the execution. The guide breaks this down into a 3-step build process. Step 1 is the initial architect.
This is where you paste that narrative script we talked about, but there is a specific command I love here. Skip the hello or title part.
Why? Is the AI too polite?
It is. AI loves to schmooze. It wants to give you a title slide that says, here is the presentation you requested, and then a slide that says, welcome.
Right.
The guide says, no, cut the fluff, hit the audience with value on screen 1.
Efficient.
Yeah.
So we have the rough draft. Step 2 is visual upgrades.
This is where we prompt for prestige. You look at the deck, and maybe it's a bit text-heavy, so you go back to the chat and say, convert these bullet points into a comparison table, or make this a pie chart.
Okay.
But here is the killer keyword the guide swears by. McKinsey.
The consulting firm.
Yes. You specifically ask for McKinsey style.
I have to ask. Is that just a buzzword, or does it actually do something to the code?
It does something very specific. In the design data the AI has been trained on, McKinsey is associated with a very specific aesthetic.
Such as?
Clean lines, specific sans serif fonts, and massive amounts of white space. It forces the AI to stop cluttering the slide.
Interesting.
It signals professionalism. It's a shortcut to a specific kind of design language that just screams expensive.
And step 3 is the UX audit.
User experience, yeah. Since this is code, you need to check the load times. But usually, because it's simple HTML, it's lightning fast, no loading circles, much lighter than a 50 megabyte PowerPoint file.
So just to clarify, why is that specific keyword McKinsey so effective in a prompt?
It forces the AI to use white space and clean lines.
White space and clean lines. Got it. Now, I want to pivot to something a bit more advanced. We had the slides. They look professional. They were still just slides. The guide mentions a tool called Cursor that can apparently take this to a whole new level.
This is where things get really fun.
We are going to take a very brief break, but when we come back, I want to understand how a non-coder is supposed to use a developer tool like Cursor without breaking everything. Stay with us. We are back. We've built the deck in Claude. It's HTML. It looks like a McKinsey consultant made it.
Yeah.
But maybe it needs that final 1% of polish. Or maybe I wanted to do something PowerPoint can't, like glow or react to my mouse. The guide brings up Cursor.
Yeah. Cursor is, well, technically it's a code editor. It's a fork of VS Code, which developers use.
You are losing me. I am not opening a code editor.
Stick with me because Cursor has AI built into the fabric of the editor. Think of it as Claude for files on your computer.
Okay, I'm listening.
So you download the HTML file you just made. You open it in Cursor. You see the code, which is scary, I know.
Right.
But you don't touch the code. You highlight a section, say the code for a button, and you press Control-P. A little chat box pops up right there in the code, and you talk to it in plain English.
What do you mean?
You say, make this button glow purple when I hover over it, or change this background to a subtle blue gradient.
And the AI just writes the code?
It deletes the old code and writes the new code right before your eyes. You see the preview update instantly.
That is wild. I mean, glow on hover is something that would take me an hour to figure out in PowerPoint animations, and it would probably look cheesy.
Exactly. And here, it takes seconds. You can add shadows, smooth transitions, things that make the deck feel like a premium app. You feel like a wizard. You are typing English, and the computer is spitting out advanced CSS.
That sounds incredible. But I have to play devil's advocate again.
Yeah.
Just because we can add glowing menus and gradients, should we? Is there a risk of over-engineering this?
Huge risk. It's the Jurassic Park problem. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the guide actually outlines golden design rules to prevent this.
What's rule number 1?
Less text, more meaning. A classic.
Yeah.
But it's harder to stick to with AI because AI loves to include every single word you wrote in the script.
You have to be the editor.
You have to be the editor. Let the charts talk.
Rule number 2.
White space is luxury.
I want to pause on that. White space is luxury. It sounds a little pretentious. Why is emptiness associated with luxury?
Think about a discount flyer. It is crammed.
Yeah.
Every inch has a price, a starburst, a sale, sticker. It screams anxiety. It screams, look at me.
True.
Now think about an art gallery or a high-end watch ad. A single object. Vast empty space.
Right.
It implies confidence. It says, this number is so important it doesn't need to shout. Centering a single powerful number in the middle of a vast dark background looks expensive.
That's a really good point. It's the confidence of restraint.
Precisely. And rule number 3 is navigation flow. Because we have that menu on the left, you can do something magical during a Q&A.
Oh.
If someone asks about the first topic, you click the menu and boom, you're there. You aren't frantically pressing the back arrow 50 times while everyone watches you sweat.
It makes you look like you are in total control of the information.
It creates a wow factor. It shows you know your material inside and out.
Okay, so you've polished it, you've respected the white space, now you have to show it to people. And this is where my technical anxiety flares up again. In PowerPoint, I email a file. Done. How do I email an HTML folder?
You don't. And this is the best part. This is the moment that changes the dynamic with your client or your team. The guide suggests 2 methods.
Method 1.
You just open the HTML file in your browser, Chrome, Safari, whatever, press F11 for full screen, and present. The browser is the projector.
Okay, but what if I want to send it to them?
Method 2. You use a service called Netlify.
Netlify. Sounds technical?
It sounds it, but think of it like Dropbox for code. You don't need to configure servers. You don't need to pay for hosting.
So what do? You
take that folder with your slides, you drag it onto the Netlify website in your browser, and you just drop it. And then, about 3 seconds later, it gives you a link. A URL, myawesome-presentation.netlify.app.
So it's a website.
It is a website. You text that link to your client. They open it on their phone. It renders perfectly.
Wow.
They open it on their iPad. It works.
Wait, so that solves the missing font issue. The thing where I use a cool font on my Mac, send it to a PC user, and everything turns into Times New Roman and the layout just explodes.
Gone. Because it's a website, it pulls the fonts from the internet, like from Google Fonts. It ensures the experience you designed is exactly the experience they see. It is universal.
So the browser is effectively the new projector.
Absolutely. It guarantees fonts and layouts render perfectly everywhere.
So let's unpack the big picture here. We aren't just talking about a new software tool. We're talking about a philosophical shift. The guide summarizes this as moving from slide designers to experience architects.
That's the core takeaway. When you are dragging boxes, you are a laborer. You are fighting the tool. When you are prompting code, you are a director. You are focused on the story and the flow.
And the trade-offs seem clear. We trade manual formatting, all the clicking for natural language commands. We trade linear static slides for interactive website-like artifacts. And crucially, we trade bullet points for narrative scripts to drive the design.
It lets us spend that precious time on the argument, the logic, the persuasion. That's what actually wins pitches, not the alignment of the text box.
It's compelling.
Yeah.
But it does require a leap of faith.
For the listener who is sitting there, maybe with a PowerPoint icon staring at them from their desktop, what's the call to action?
The challenge is simple. Take the next script you have. Maybe it's for a team meeting, maybe a pitch. Do not open PowerPoint. Write it out as a story. Open Claude. Paste it in with that initial architect command. Create an HTML slide deck. Skip the intro. Just see what happens.
Even if you fail, you'll learn something about how you structure your thoughts. Exactly. Jump in. The water is warm and the fonts always load.
Don't just save time. Change how you communicate. That was the final thought from the guide, and I think it sticks. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one.